I've been a brain doctor here in the US for almost 20 years, and some of the toughest moments of my career have been standing beside families who thought they were doing everything right, only to find out the very thing they believed was keeping them healthy was slowly putting their brain in danger. If you're over 60, or if you've got a parent or loved one in that age group, listen closely. There's one small habit that could silently raise your risk of a stroke while you sleep. No warning, no pain. One moment you're fine, the next, your arm won't move. Your words come out slurred, or you can't keep your balance. I've seen it happen, and it breaks me every time. And the shocking part, it's not smoking. It's not diet. It's not lack of exercise. It's something most people believe is helping them: vitamins. Every single day, millions of seniors line up their supplements thinking they're protecting their bones, boosting their energy, or keeping their memory sharp. And yes, some do help, but others, especially in high doses or taken at the wrong time, can quietly push your brain right to the edge. That's why I want to share 5 common vitamins D, E, B6, A, and niacin that may raise your risk of stroke, brain bleeds, or sudden spikes in blood pressure. And I'm not just giving you theories. I'll tell you the real stories of my patients so you don't fall into the same trap. So stay with me, because what you hear today could save your life or the life of someone you love. And if brain health really matters to you, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to The Truth MD. Not for me, but so more people, your friends, your family, maybe even a stranger who needs to hear this, can find the truth before it's too late. Let me tell you about James. He was 65, a retired factory worker from Texas. A tough man, worked with his hands all his life, and after retirement, he just wanted to stay strong for his wife and kids. Every morning, like clockwork, he lined up his pills and swallowed a 10,000 IU vitamin D capsule. He believed with all his heart that he was protecting his bones. But one morning, his wife found him on the bathroom floor. His speech was slurred. His right arm hung limp, one side of his face drooping. A stroke. Overnight, his life had changed. The tests told the story. Calcium levels dangerously high, arteries stiff like old pipes, blood pressure spiking out of control. The culprit, vitamin D toxicity. Here's what happens. Too much vitamin D pushes calcium into your bloodstream, and when your body doesn't know where to put all that calcium, it hardens your arteries, narrowing the very highways that feed your brain. All it takes is one clot getting stuck, and suddenly, game over. The terrifying part. There are no warning signs. You go to bed fine, you wake up unable to lift your arm or say your own name. That's exactly what happened to James. Here's the lesson I want you to remember: check your dose. Most adults over 60 only need about 600, 800 IU, daily, sometimes less, if your blood levels are normal. 10,000 IU a day is not extra healthy, it's dangerous. Always test first, don't guess. Get your vitamin D blood level checked regularly. Watch the combos. Vitamin D plus calcium supplements or certain heart and blood pressure meds can create a perfect storm for stroke. Cycle smartly. You don't need to take supplements every single day all year long. Work with your doctor to build in breaks. James thought he was saving his bones. Instead, he nearly lost his life. Please don't make the same mistake. After James's stroke with vitamin D, another story still keeps me up at night. Her name was Linda, 70 years old, a retired school teacher from California. She was sharp-loved, reading the kind of woman who always had a mystery novel on the nightstand. After heart surgery, her doctors put her on warfarin, a common blood thinner. Everything looked fine. Her labs were stable, her blood pressure was good, her follow-ups were routine. But Linda wanted to do more for herself. She told me once, "Doctor, I just want to keep my memory strong, stay young a little longer." So when she saw an ad for natural vitamin E, promising heart health, circulation, even anti-aging, she bought a bottle. Each capsule 800 IU. She took it every single morning, believing she was giving her brain and heart a gift. 3 weeks later, she was sitting at home reading when it happened. First a pounding headache, then nausea, then confusion. By the time her family called 911, she could barely speak. The brain scan showed it clearly a hemorrhagic stroke bleeding inside her brain. Not from high blood pressure, not from a fall, but because her blood had gotten too thin. Warfarin plus high-dose vitamin E had turned her blood into water. One tiny vessel burst, and her life was never the same. Linda survived, but she walks with a cane now. Her short-term memory never fully came back. She looked me in the eye and whispered through tears I thought I was helping myself. I didn't know I was hurting my brain. Vitamin E isn't evil. Your body needs it, but only in a tiny amount, about 22 IU a day. And here's the catch. Most vitamin E supplements sold in drugstores here in the US contain 200, 400, even 1,000 IU per capsule. That's 10, 20, 50 times what you actually need. And if you're already taking a blood thinner warfarin Plavix, even a daily aspirin adding high-dose vitamin E is like lighting a match near gasoline. You might get away with it for a while, but eventually something will blow. The lesson I want you to take home: more isn't better. When it comes to vitamin E, too much can be deadly. Never mix it with blood thinners unless your doctor specifically tells you to. Read the label. Don't just see natural or extra strength and assume it's safe. Look at the IU, look at the dosage. If you're over 60 and taking vitamin E right now, ask yourself, do I actually need this, or am I gambling with my brain? Because for Linda, that gamble cost her independence, and I don't want that for you. After Linda's brain bleed with vitamin E, I thought I had seen it all, but then came Robert. Robert was 68, a retired truck driver from Michigan, salt of the earth guy. The kind of man who worked long nights on the road, raised a family, and never complained. When he walked into my office, though, he wasn't steady on his feet. His hands shook as he leaned on a cane. He told me, "Doc, my feet feel like they're asleep all the time. I trip over nothing. I've fallen 3 times this month." At first glance, you might think arthritis age, maybe even early dementia. But something didn't add up. So I asked about his medications and supplements. That's when he pulled a bottle out of his jacket pocket, nerve support capsules he'd been taking every day for over a year. The front label promised energy focus and brain health. The back label told the real story: 100 milliliters of vitamin B6 per pill, 2 pills a day. That's 200 milligrams daily, more than 10 times the safe upper limit for seniors. Here's what most people don't realize: vitamin B6 doesn't flush out of your body like vitamin C. It builds up day after day. And in older adults, it can actually strip the protective coating off your nerves, like tearing the plastic insulation off an electrical wire. When that happens, your nerves misfire. The tingling starts, then numbness, then weakness. Your balance goes. You can't trust your own legs. And the cruelest part, it creeps in slowly, so you convince yourself it's just old age. By the time you figure it out, the damage may be permanent. When that happens, your nerves misfire. The tingling starts, then numbness, then weakness. Your balance goes. You can't trust your own legs. And the cruelest part, it creeps in slowly, so you convince yourself it's just old age. By the time you figure it out, the damage may be permanent. Robert's outcome. We stopped the supplement right away. Thankfully, his nerve damage didn't get worse, but it didn't get better either. Robert still walks with a cane. He told me, voice breaking, "Doc, I drove a rig across this country for 40 years. Now, I can't even drive myself to the grocery store, all because I thought I was protecting my brain." The lesson you need to hear: vitamin B6 matters, but only in tiny amounts. Seniors only need 2 to 10 milligrams per day, and you already get that from food, like chicken, fish, potatoes, and bananas. Supplements aren't always safe. Many nerve support or brain booster bottles on the market contain 50, 100, even 200 milligrams of B6. That's not just unnecessary, it's dangerous. Check your labels. If you see the words nerve brain energy, flip the bottle over. Look at the dose. Don't assume more is better. Robert's story is the one I share with every patient now because it's a reminder. Sometimes the things we take to protect ourselves are the very things stealing our independence. After Robert's case, I honestly thought I'd seen just about everything when it came to vitamins gone wrong. But then came Caroline. Caroline was 75, a grandmother from Florida. Sweet woman. She loved tending her roses, cooking Sunday dinners, and showing off pictures of her grandkids. And like so many seniors, she truly believed she was doing the right thing by taking supplements. For years, she popped what she called her beauty vitamins. The label promised healthy skin, sharper eyesight, even anti-aging benefits. Each capsule carried close to 1,000 IU of vitamin A. She never missed a day. She told me, if a little is good, more must be better. But one afternoon, her daughter found her sitting on the couch with her head in her hands. Caroline had been fighting brutal headaches for weeks. That day, her vision blurred, she felt dizzy, and her words came out jumbled. Her family panicked, thinking she was having a stroke. We rushed her through scans. No clot, no bleed. But the pressure inside her skull was dangerously high, like her brain was being squeezed from the inside. The diagnosis, pseudotumor cerebri, a false brain tumor, and the cause wasn't age stress or bad luck. It was years of vitamin A toxicity. Here's the science, plain and simple. Vitamin A is fat-soluble. Unlike vitamin C or B vitamins, your body doesn't just pee it out when you get too much. It stores it in your liver, your fat tissue, even your brain. And as we get older, our liver slows down, meaning that buildup happens even faster. Over months and years, that extra vitamin A can quietly crank up the pressure in your skull. The symptoms start slow headaches, dizziness, blurred, or double vision. But left unchecked, it can cause permanent vision loss or even cognitive decline. And here's the scary part. Most multivitamins already contain your full daily dose. Seniors only need about 2,500 to 3,000 IU a day. Caroline was taking more than triple that every single morning for 5 years, not because she was careless, but because the label made it sound safe. Caroline's reality. She pulled through, but her life isn't the same. She now has to see an eye doctor, regularly get her brain pressure monitored, and do balance therapy. I'll never forget when she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "I thought I was taking care of myself. I never dreamed I was hurting my brain." What you should take away: vitamin A matters, but only in small, safe amounts. Don't stack supplements. If you're already taking a multivitamin, don't add on extra skin or eye formulas without checking. Read your labels. Talk to your doctor. Respect the dose. Caroline's story still sticks with me because it shows just how easily good intentions can backfire. She thought she was protecting her independence. Instead, the very pills meant to keep her young nearly robbed her of her sight. After Caroline's scare with vitamin A, I thought my patients had learned to be cautious. But then Thomas walked into my office. Thomas was 70, a retired postal worker. Proud, hardworking, the kind of guy who still woke up at 6 a.m. every morning just out of habit. Like a lot of seniors, he wanted to keep his heart strong. A friend at church told him about Niacin vitamin B3 and how it could naturally lower cholesterol. Thomas figured if it's a vitamin, it must be safe. So every day he swallowed 1,500 milligrams of niacin. That's not a typo. 1,500. At first, it was just little things. His face would flush bright red. His chest would pound. He'd get lightheaded. His wife thought it was anxiety. His son blamed his blood pressure meds. But then one morning, Thomas collapsed at the kitchen table. His speech slurred. His right arm went limp. For 2 terrifying minutes, he couldn't get the words out. It was a TIA, a mini stroke. Here's the science. Niacin works by forcing your blood vessels to expand, which is why so many people feel that hot, red niacin flush. But here's the catch. After those vessels expand, they suddenly snap back tight again. That rebound can spike your blood pressure, stress your heart, and choke off blood flow to the brain. Do that twice a day, every day for months. It's like tapping a hammer on thin glass. Sooner or later, something gives. And the scariest part, he wasn't alone. Many seniors pick up heart health supplements or even flush-free niacin online thinking it's safer. But even those extended-release forms can cause dangerous swings in blood pressure, trigger atrial fibrillation, or mess with blood sugar. The wake-up call Thomas was lucky. He recovered, no permanent damage, but he looked at me in disbelief and said, "Doc, I thought I was doing everything right. I had no idea I was gambling with my brain." What you should take away. For older adults, anything above 50 mg a day of niacin should only be used under a doctor's supervision. Always read the back label, not just the front marketing claims. If you already have high blood pressure, heart disease, or you're on medication, niacin can be a dangerous mix. Stories like Thomas's break my heart because they show how easy it is to go from trying to protect your health to nearly losing it all. After seeing so many patients crash from vitamin overload, I knew I had to share a different path. That's when I met Margaret Wilson, a 72-year-old retired school principal from Arizona. She walked into my office one morning, set her big purse on the desk, and pulled out bottle after bottle, vitamin D for her bones, vitamin E for her heart, B complex for energy, niacin for cholesterol, a daily multi, and even a couple of brain boosters she'd seen on TV. She looked at me with tired eyes and said, "Doctor, I'm doing everything right. So why do I feel so wrong?" Every morning she was dizzy. Her balance was off. Her blood pressure kept creeping up, and she was scared. So I asked her to try something that sounded almost old-fashioned. In today's world, ditch the pills, eat real food. We cleared out the cabinet full of supplements and built her meals from scratch. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive. Just honest food. Here's what her breakfast looked like. 1 boiled egg for clean protein. Half an avocado for healthy fats. A slice of whole grain toast for slow, steady energy. A handful of blueberries packed with antioxidants for her brain. A glass of room temperature water to rehydrate after the night. Sometimes she added a few walnuts or almonds. That's it. No powders, no miracle capsules, just food her body recognized. And here's the part that still gives me goosebumps. Within a few weeks, Margaret's life started to change. The dizziness, gone. Her blood pressure, back under control. Her energy, steadier than it had been in years. One day, she looked at me and said with a smile, "Doc, I feel clearer up here than I have in a decade." Why did this work? Because the brain doesn't need megadoses. It doesn't need 1,000 IUs in a pill. It needs balance. It needs hydration, healthy fats, steady fuel, and nutrients in the form nature intended. That's why some of the best brain protective foods for seniors aren't found in a bottle at all. They're right in the grocery store, leafy greens like spinach and kale, loaded with folate and antioxidants. Fatty fish like salmon or sardines, rich in omega-3s to protect brain cells. Berries packed with polyphenols that calm inflammation. Nuts and seeds full of vitamin E, magnesium, and healthy fats for the brain. Whole grains keeping blood sugar stable and circulation strong. And here's the truth I want you to hear. These foods don't just protect your brain. They also support your heart, your bones, your mood, even your independence. With every bite, you're not just eating, you're healing. So here's the truth I want you to walk away with. Not every vitamin is safe. Used the wrong way, they can be a double-edged sword. At best, they waste your money. At worst, they can cost you your independence, even your life. The safest, strongest way to protect your brain and your heart after 60 isn't in a pill bottle. It's in balance. It's in the food on your plate, the steps you take each day, and yes, only using vitamins under a doctor's guidance. If you or someone you love takes vitamins every day, please take a moment tonight. Look at the labels, check the doses, and talk to your doctor. Because sometimes one small change today can save you from a tragedy tomorrow. And if this message hit home for you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, a parent, a neighbor you never know whose life it could save. Here on The Truth MD, this is what we do. Honest, science-backed health made simple. So if you found this helpful, go ahead and hit subscribe. That way we can keep learning, growing, and protecting our health together.